we're going to start by what we call defining your moment.
Gwendolyn Scott?
Yes?
I'm Detective Ray Curtis. This is Detective Benson. We need to talk to you for a minute.
So sorry, I'm busy.
It's important.
My client is important. You can call my office.
You know, a guy named Tom Newberry just gave me this girl's number, PR flack. She likes to buy voicemail passwords and blackmail her clients. Maybe I'll call her instead.
"5 minutes. Was that fun, Detective?
Sometimes I like to play rough.
Well, so do I. But a little charm can go a long way.
Sorry, I promise this will only take a moment of your time. You're a busy girl.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
And I promise I won't make up extra questions as an excuse to talk to you longer.
All right, Romeo, settle down. Ask away.
Does the name Rachel Trevino mean anything to you?
No, should it?
She was murdered last night. We found her body at the Parkview Regency.
Oh, poor girl. As if life isn't tough enough for housekeeping.
I didn't say anything about her being with housekeeping.
I must have read it in the paper.
Nothing's been released to the papers yet.
It must have been gossip. You know how these things get around, Detective.
Tom Newberry already told us you knew her.
Oh, that Rachel. Of course. My mistake. I can be such an airhead.
What kind of business do you do, Miss Scott?
The PR biz is a very careful, very delicate balance between what you know, what you say, and who you say it to. There was this one guy. Used to be major A-list, now he's major A-hole. Anyway, he crashed his car outside Savannah, stinking drunk and out of his mind on PCP. I mean, who does PCP anymore? He gets out, strips all his clothes off, and flags down a car full of college students. Well, by the time they got to Daytona Beach, they had 2 hours of him ranting about Canadians on their cell phone cameras. I had to pay them each $10,000 for the phones and footage. 40 grand, and on top of that, I had to pay out for damage to the car seats due to excessive sweating.
Enchanting story, Miss Scott.
Do you know Tom Newberry?
No.
He says he knows you. That's how we got your name.
A lot of people know me.
Do a lot of people call you?
Not the right people.
So if I look up your phone records and Tom Newberry called you, and you talked to him more than once, now, would I be crazy to think you're lying to me?
I'd say you were just jealous.
I'm not the jealous type, Miss Scott, and I don't like playing games. You knew him.
Fine. Yes, we did business. I paid him for insider information.
You paid Tom for what, exactly?
Passwords. I paid Tom for access to voicemail accounts.
So you could delete Rachel Trevino's voicemails?
Look, I really shouldn't say.
Did you want to keep her quiet? Miss Scott, were you involved in her murder?
No, I did delete Rachel's voicemails, yes, but I did it for someone else, on someone else's orders. Understand?
All right, I'm listening. Why don't you tell me a little more? Was someone else involved? Who asked you to delete the voicemails?
A client. I really can't tell you.
I'm gonna find out anyway. I'm actually pretty good at this detective thing.
Well, crap. I guess it's all over for me anyway. Here's the deal. I gave Rachel's password and voicemails to my usual buyer, Alexander Baran.
Alexander Baran, as in CEO of Wider Media? The Russian guy who owns like half the television stations in America?
The very same. Baran bought Rachel's voicemail access from me a few weeks ago, and then told me to delete them all.
Wider Media. Rachel wrote that in her day planner. It didn't click until now. Miss Scott, why was Alexander Baran interested in Rachel Trevino? She's a maid. He's a Russian billionaire. I don't get it.
Rachel Trevino was not a hotel maid. She was an activist, a blogger, and she had uncovered some dirty, dirty secrets about Alexander Baran. He's a very bad boy detective.
What did she find out?
Baran has a problem keeping it in his pants, especially when it comes to housekeeping staff. We've had to cover up a few unsavory encounters. Rachel tried to set up a sting going undercover at the hotel, and I honestly don't know what happened after that, but I think she got in over her head.
Did Baran kill her?
And this is where my lawyer would advise me to keep my mouth shut.
Come on, Gwen.
Oh, now it's Gwen. I like that. Okay, look, all I'm gonna say is the Parkview Regency Hotel has a front desk, right? Ask them who stayed there on Saturday.
That was Cormac at the precinct. Alexander Baran was a guest at Parkview Regency the night Rachel was killed. He checked out earlier today, and he's on his way to MacArthur Airport. He's got a private jet and an appointment in London.
Well, he's gonna be late.
Mr. Baran! Mr. Baran! Detective Curtis, NYPD. We need to talk to you about the murder of a hotel maid over the weekend.
A maid? Are you serious? I'm leaving for London.
Look like about 1.5 inches to you, Ray?
Sure does.
Mr. Alexander Baran, you are under arrest for the murder of Rachel Trevino. You have the right to remain silent.
I don't know why we're wasting time here. I'm a Russian. I have diplomatic immunity.
We did a little research on you, Mr. Braun. Rachel's blog was a very interesting read. Maids? Waitresses? Executives at your own company? Is there any woman you wouldn't hit on? Your mom?
Miss Benson, I am a handsome, virile man. I radiate power. Women are attracted to it despite themselves.
Here's a clue. When a woman is attracted to you, she does not slap you with a sexual harassment lawsuit. You've had 12.
I'm a flirt. I get slapped with all sorts of things.
Did you know Rachel Trevino?
No.
We have DNA evidence that says you did.
What kind of evidence?
A rape kit.
You don't know what you're talking about. It was completely consensual.
So you do know her?
You cops think you have it all figured out. Guess what? We were lovers.
I'm not buying it. Sorry, Charlie. An earlier witness already told us Rachel didn't have a boyfriend. And you lied about knowing her just now. That's 2 strikes.
A jury might see it different. When I left the room, that girl was alive.
You had access to Rachel's voicemails, and you destroyed them to cover up your connection.
Not true. I never touched the voicemails.
Nice try. Gwen Scott told us she deleted the voicemails on your orders. You're guilty as sin, Baron.
If you say so.
Rachel knew all about you. She was gathering evidence about you, about unreported assaults.
I wouldn't know anything about that. I never even heard these voicemails you're so very concerned about.
Women, they love power. They love machismo. But most of them, when they get their hands on a stallion, all they do is complain about the ride. Am I right?
Yeah.
And these bloggers, they're all feminists, right? Always complaining about guys, especially macho guys. Guys like you.
Sorry. My lawyers have advised me not to take bait so easily offered by a policeman.
Worth a shot. You've had 12 lawsuits?
Yes, what of it? They were all resolved.
I'm just impressed. I mean, you gotta be some kind of gentleman to cause that much noise.
I appreciate your sarcasm, but I'm not allowed to discuss the details of my settlements.
You didn't come forward when you heard about the murder.
I had no reason to. A maid is killed. How is this my business?
She was your girlfriend.
Ah, but you say she is not detective.
Seems like you were trying to avoid this investigation.
No, I had every intention of cooperation. In fact, when you found me, I was on my way to see my lawyer.
Uh-huh. In your jet.
He's on vacation in Florida.
You said you were headed to London. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump to Moscow from there, and then you'd be out of our reach.
Your knowledge of geography is so American.
So let's say, maybe this girl, Rachel, maybe she liked it a little rough, and you obliged. Consenting adults, right?
Sure, completely consenting.
And the cane could have been involved.
Could have been.
You know, killing the witness to a crime gets you an automatic upgrade to Murder 1.
What crimes? What witness?
Rachel had evidence on you, Baron. She knew what you were up to.
She wasn't a witness to anything. Those voicemails were about an expose, a plan to blackmail me.
You're lying, and we can prove it. You just told us you never heard those voicemails, so there's no way you could know what they were about. You heard them, and you know it. You're looking better and better for this murder with every lie that comes out of your filthy mouth. You mentioned blackmail. Are you being blackmailed?
Why, yes. Why aren't you investigating the criminals behind this whole operation?
Who?
I'm very certain it's the Russian mob. I won't share my money with them, which they did not earn. So they want me embarrassed and disgraced. I wouldn't cough up a ruble for those thugs.
That's enough from you. Let's get back to the murder.
Tell me how the cane fits into this scenario. Was it an accident?
I'm sure it must have been.
Did she ask you to use it?
Yes, she asked me to do it. It was her idea. She liked that kind of thing, I guess. Like I said, it was all consensual. This girl was kinky. She saw my cane. She wanted to try it. She was an adult.
So you admit it?
No. No.
The bruise mark on Rachel's neck matches your cane. You just said she asked you to choke her out.
No, I'm not admitting anything to you people.
Come on, Baran. An innocent girl is dead. You want to be macho? You want to be a man? Why don't you tell the truth for once?
You better wipe that smug smile off your face before you get to Rikers.
Miss Benson, I'm innocent of this offensive charge. My lawyers will have this all thrown out, and my country will protect me.
Really? We can place you at the murder scene. We can connect you to the victim and her voicemails. And your cane is a match for the murder weapon.
Now might be a good time to panic.
That's a hell of a lot of evidence to throw out.
That's why I have a hell of a lot of lawyers. Don't worry, I'll be out in a few days. Then maybe I'll call you, baby.
Gosh, you are just not my type. Come on, Ray. Let's go get a bite. Mr. Baran can stew in his own ick for a while.
The district attorney's office takes a dim view of rape and murder in our city, Mr. Baran. Your defense contends you have diplomatic immunity, but the Russian consulate says you only have limited immunity.
My status protects me from prosecution of any crime committed in the course of my diplomatic mission. I met Miss Trevino in the capacity of a Russian media expert as a diplomat.
Did you meet Rachel Trevino at the Parkview Regency?
She said she worked there, so we agreed to meet.
And instead you slept with her?
Yes, women are attracted to me, Miss Carmichael.
Not all of them.
Objection!
Withdrawn. So your immunity status is based on your acting as a diplomatic agent. But this is the first we've heard that you were meeting Rachel Trevino in that capacity.
She wanted to compare Russian business philosophy to American. She mentioned that aspect specifically to me.
Are you sure she didn't have something else in mind? Was Rachel investigating other aspects of your business, Mr. Baran?
No.
Our detectives investigated Rachel's blog. She was gathering evidence that you were a sexual predator.
That was for my daughter, you bastard!
Bailiff, restrain that man! Order! Order!
Someone grab him! My baby, you murderer!
Judgment Day. Hero dad gets revenge. Taking care of business. Father does what court cannot. American justice. The headlines go on. The people love this guy.
Chavez Trevino. He killed the smug bastard who killed his daughter. Of course they love him.
How the hell did he get a gun into the courtroom?
This is gonna get messy quick. I say we charge him with voluntary manslaughter and let it go.
Abby?
You know what keeps me up at night? What if his aim was off? Just slightly. I wouldn't even be here to answer your question, Jack.
You're right. I'm not setting a precedent for street justice in our courtrooms, despite what the people think they want. Prove it was premeditated. Hit him with murder one.
You got it, boss.
How did your client plead, Ms. Mullins?
Not guilty. Be advised, we're going to mount a diminished capacity defense. The defendant is a Gulf War vet who suffers from chronic post-traumatic stress disorder. We will show that Mr. Trevino was under extreme emotional distress at the time of the shooting and is therefore not eligible for murder one.
Any issues, counselor?
None, Your Honor. Defense has briefed us already. This doesn't change anything. We're moving ahead with murder one. Focus on the premeditation. Can you tell us definitively who shot Alexander Baran?
Without a doubt, the defendant, Chavez Trevino, shot him. I looked to see Mr. Trevino standing up with a smoking gun in his hand. Literally.
And can you identify him for the court?
Sitting right there. That's your shooter.
Please let the record show the detective pointed at the defendant. After the shooting, Mr. Trevino made a voluntary statement to you about why he shot Mr. Baran. True?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said Mr. Baran had to die. He said Mr. Baran was going to claim immunity, escape prosecution, and run back to Russia.
Detective, how exactly did Mr. Trevino get a gun into the courtroom? Aren't there security measures?
We're still investigating how he breached security. But he claims he stuffed it into his jacket and simply walked through.
How difficult would it have been to get past security?
Mr. Trevino had to avoid metal detectors and checkpoints covering every entrance.
What would it take to get past all that security, Miss Benson?
Forethought, planning, and intelligence. Mr. Trevino had to keep his cool and his wits about him at all times.
Actions inconsistent with someone under emotional distress.
In my view, yes.
Detective, does it bother you that people think the defendant is a hero?
I guess so. But it's not my job to worry about what people think. I follow the evidence.
But imagine a world where people could just walk into a court and start shooting. Would it be safe?
I don't have to imagine. It happened. And no, it was not safe.
Objection! Relevance?
Sustained. Mr. Cutter, you're meandering.
What else did he say?
He said the courts were weak, powerless. He said the only justice he wanted was a death sentence.
So, his motive was less about avenging his daughter's murder and more about exacting the type of justice he wanted to see.
Objection.
Withdrawn. Is there any doubt as to the circumstances of the shooting, Detective?
None. Mr. Trevino shot the defendant in front of witnesses and admitted to the murder afterward. I wish every case was as simple.
Thank you, Detective. Your Honor, the people rest. No further questions for this witness.